I'd change my assessment. I think Irene probably caught this leak in the first 30 seconds. Hey folks, I'm here in the utility building this morning. Hadn't planned to be here, but last night when Irene went out to check the greenhouse, she heard some pump running. And she knew that the pump really ought not be running at that time of night. So she came out and she checked here in the utility building. And what she found was a small leak. A leak right up here. It probably only ran for 2 or 3 minutes before she found it. But it made a little bit of a mess. Not too much, it's easy to clean up. But my concern is actually what's happening in this fitting. I'm going to move the camera and see if I can get a close-up for you. But when I came out and checked this last night, water was coming out of the back side of this union fitting. Now, the water system is pretty simple. We have 3 tanks up on the hill. We have an underground line that's buried that comes all the way into this utility building and comes up through the concrete into a 2-inch pipe. We have a large capacity pressure tank here that fills up with water, and the reason why we use that is so that we don't have the pump run all the time. And the other issue is if we didn't have a tank whatsoever, the pump would be fast cycling. It would be turning off and on very, very quickly, which will heat the pump up and could ruin it. Water comes into the utility building through this 2-inch pipe. I have a shutoff that allows me to shut the water off completely from the tanks. There's a union fitting here. That means I can take all of this pipe off if I need to. One of the reasons why I might need to take the pipe off is this fitting right here. This is a check valve. That allows water to go this direction to the pump. And when the pump shuts off, it stops the water from backing down. We have another union fitting right here. So by taking off this union here and the one down below, I can remove the pipe that interconnects this pump to the main inlet from the water tanks. This pump takes water in from the front here and pumps it out the top through this nipple. The nipple also has a union on it. That means that I can also remove these pieces of pipe without having to cut any PVC. Now this fitting right here, this pipe right here, is metal. The reason why it's metal is because if this pump heats up, a piece of PVC will expand down here in the threads. And when it cools off, it will shrink. That means it will no longer fit correctly and will develop a leak. Last night when I looked at this fitting, I noticed rust, and it looks to me like the union is swelling, probably from rust growing underneath the threads on the union fitting. I'm using this really cool little flashlight that Daniel at Arms Family talked about a few months ago. I got this for Christmas. It's really awesome. It's small, it's powerful, it really does the job. Now looking closely, I can see a fair amount of rust on these threads. So I'm going to loosen this union fitting right here and then see if the bottom has expanded from rust. This union fitting may or may not turn by hand. And it does, which is awesome. That makes everything a lot easier. When I first plumbed all of this piping here, I didn't include unions. When I had the first pump fail, I decided the next time I put it together, I'd be putting a union fitting. And I'm really glad I did. Oh, this comes off pretty easily. It looks like this fitting probably has expanded because of heat. I'll see if I can put some thread sealer on this, put it back on, and make it work. I have some Teflon pipe thread compound that I'm going to use to put on the threads of this pipe, and then try putting the union coupler back together. I'm going to go ahead and use my finger to put the pipe thread compound on to make sure it goes all the way around the threads. Now, looking at this fitting, I'll definitely have to replace it. I'm just hoping I can make a temporary repair today so that I have time to get to the hardware store in the big city, well, big city, 50,000 people, where they will have the other pieces that I'd like to have. This union has started threading on. I haven't put any silicone grease on these threads or on the O-ring that's inside. I probably should have, but I'm going to just try this for right now. Tighten it down hand tight. And now I can turn the water pump on and see if it leaks. And it's leaking. It's leaking like crazy. Well, I'm not going to have any choice but to go to the hardware store. That means an hour drive to the big city, an hour drive back. If I can get the pieces I need in short order, I should be back in about 3 hours. Otherwise, I'm probably looking at 4 or 5 hours, which means later on this afternoon. I had other things I needed to do, but this has to be done. We do need water in the house. Fortunately, we have about 50 gallons of water in this pressure tank, which can feed the house for the time being. I suppose I could try tightening a little bit more. If it splits, I'm not going to hurt anything that's not already damaged. So I'll go ahead and give that a try. Well, this is leaking. I'm going to go ahead and try tightening it up some more. I can't hurt it if I break it because it's already broken. And I'll see if I can stop this leak. I am a little concerned because I just noticed that it looks like there's a leak down here now. It's one of the problems that you have with PVC piping on pumps and things like that. If one thing starts going, you'll frequently have other leaks develop. So it looks like it's going to be the better part or perhaps even the entire day to fix this problem. And it also means driving to the big city. That's an hour and 15 minutes away. That means an hour and 15 there, an hour and 15 back. That's 2.5 hours. If I'm lucky, I can find all the parts at one store. That means I could probably be back in about 3 hours. Chances are I'll have to go to at least 2 or 3 locations to get the pieces I need. And I'm going to talk to Irene and see if there's food that we need from the big city, and if we can afford it, I'll go ahead and pick it up. So let's try cranking down on this fitting some more. Pipe thread compound will get on everything. It gets on your hands, it gets on your tools, it gets on the pipe. Well, being on the pipe is a good thing. You want to go ahead and seal it up. I don't know about this. I do now. It's leaking. There's no salvaging this fitting. So it means I'm going to have to go see if I have another one. I'll also need to find another piece of pipe nipple. I don't want to continue this problem if I can avoid it. So if it's available, I'll replace this nipple. In the meantime, I'm going to look to see if we have another union coupler. Wish me luck.